Dear students, welcome to the online classes of biology. So, in the previous classes, we were studying about the spermatogenesis, and I explained you spermatogenesis is the process of formation of sperms. Okay, and it includes what spermatogenesis, spermiogenesis, spermiation, etc. All these are very clear to you, I hope. And also we have studied the hormonal control of the process of spermatogenesis, and also we have studied the structure of a human sperm. Now we are going to study another process, that is oogenesis. So as you know, oogenesis is the process of formation of ovum or egg or the female gamete. The process of oogenesis is different, okay, from that of the spermatogenesis. That is, oogenesis is initiated during the embryonic developmental stage. I told, isn't it, when the female child is in the mother's womb, when other organs are formed like heart or liver, kidney, all these are organs are formed, or organogenesis happens in the female fetus, okay, female child's fetus. So that time the ovary also develop, and at that time a couple of million gamete mother cells, what are they known as, oogonia. Okay, so oogonia are found in each fetal ovary. Understood? Means in the fetus, when they form when they do organogenesis, that time ovary is forming, and during the ovary formation itself, okay, the gamete mother cells called oogonia are formed, and no oogonia, or what, the gamete mother cells, they are known as what, oogonia, like spermatogonia. Understood? And they are not formed after the delivery, means after the birth of the child, it is not formed. When whatever is formed is during its organogenesis in the fetal stage. Okay, then these cells, they start division, okay, start their meiotic division, and they enter into prophase 1. Okay, don't forget. So they enter into prophase 1 of the meiotic division, and there they will be getting arrested. Okay, so in this stage, what the division will be arrested, means for a long time it will be stopped. Okay, so you remember, meiosis is having meiosis 1 and 2, and meiosis 1 is having what, different stages like prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, and telophase 1. And in that prophase 1 itself is a very long process. Do you remember? It consists of zygote, packotine, zygote, leptotine, packotine, likewise different steps are there. So in prophase 1, okay, some of the what the oogonia enters, and then what happens, they will get arrested, their growth or their division will be arrested in this prophase 1, and these are known as what, primary oocytes. Understood? Then what happened, each primary oocyte, then it will be surrounded by a layer of granulosa cells, and now we call it as primary follicle. Okay, and this primary follicles, what are primary follicle? That is primary oocytes. What are primary oocytes? When the oogonia, they start or they enter into the prophase 1 of the meiotic division, and their division will get temporarily arrested. So that are known as what, primary oocytes. This primary oocytes, when it is surrounded by a layer of granulosa cells, okay, then it is known as what, primary follicle. Understood? And in this stage, means in the embryonic stage itself, you can see this primary follicles, and as the child they grow from the childhood to the puberty, or from birth to puberty, when the child grows, almost many what, the primary follicles will get lost. Okay, and left out will be around 60,000 to 80,000 only. Means when a female child attains puberty, even though there were couple of millions of gamete mother cells, but when the child attains puberty, the left out one will be what 60,000 to 80,000. Understood? Now the primary follicles will get surrounded by more layers of granulosa cells and a new theca, okay, or new covering, and then it is known as secondary follicles. Okay, so primary follicles will get converted to what? Secondary follicles. And secondary follicles, when you see the major features of secondary follicle is, so the secondary follicle will have what? More layers of granulosa cells. Primary follicle, that will be having a single layer of granulosa cells. Secondary follicles will have more layers of granulosa cells. Okay, and a new theca. Now secondary follicles will transform into what? Tertiary follicle. Understood? So tertiary follicles means it will have some characteristic feature, that is they will show a cavity, okay, known as andrum, okay, fluid filled cavity called andrum. Okay, so this is a tertiary follicle having what? See, an andrum. Andrum is what? It's a cavity with fluid filled cavity is known as what? Andrum. So andrum will be there in what? Tertiary follicle. Understood? Then, and the theca layer, that is the covering, is organized into two parts, that is into an inner theca interna and an outer theca externa. So the theca layer will get arranged into two. Understood? Then and in this stage, what happened? The primary oocyte. What is primary oocyte? The oocyte, oogonia, that undergone or that entered into the first meiotic division, that is the prophase, isn't it? Prophase 1, and their division is arrested. That is known as what? Primary oocyte. Okay, now in the tertiary follicle, what will happen? The primary oocyte, okay, grows in size and it completes its first meiotic division. Okay, first meiotic division means in the prophase 1 only it was means it entered into prophase 1 and there it was arrested. That continuous process was not happening. Okay, so now when the follicle is growing or it matured into tertiary follicle, the primary oocyte, okay, they undergoes what? They complete the first meiotic division, means they enter into the metaphase 1, then what? Anaphase 1 and telophase 1. Okay, and then it this division, okay, that is you know that in meiosis, if you study, a cell will undergo what? First meiotic division and form two cells, isn't it? Two haploid cells, and these haploid cells, there is one peculiarity, that is it's a kind of unequal division, okay, forming a large haploid secondary oocyte and a polar body. I have explained you this in the class, isn't it? That is the division. The first meiotic division is very important. Why? Because it is the division where the chromosome number is getting into half. Okay, and at the same time you can see that secondary oocyte, which is formed due to the first meiotic division or after the first meiotic division, will retain most of the cytoplasm because the egg is providing or it is contributing more cytoplasm to the zygote. Understood? So like this, what? The first meiotic division, when it completes, okay, in the primary oocyte, where it happens? In the tertiary follicle. Okay, what will happen? The secondary oocyte will form and the first polar body. Understood? Now the tertiary follicle will change into a mature follicle, that is known as Graafian follicle. Okay, what is it? Graafian follicle. So what is a Graafian follicle? A mature follicle is known as what? The Graafian follicle. Understood? So first I told primary oocyte is formed when the oogonia enters into the first meiotic division, and then what happen? It get arrested in the prophase 1, and that is known as what? Primary oocyte, and it forms a layer of granulosa cells. Now we call it as what? Primary follicle. Primary follicles, okay, they means most of the primary follicles will get degenerated during the what for the growth phase from birth to puberty. And when a female child attains puberty, around 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles only will be left out in each ovary. Understood? And then what happened? This primary follicle with primary oocyte will develop what? More layers. Okay, more layers of granulosa cells and a new theca. And now what we call it as secondary follicles. Now secondary follicles will change into what? Tertiary follicle. What is the speciality of tertiary follicle? It will have a cavity known as antrum, fluid filled cavity, that is known as what? Antrum. Okay, and the theca layer will get arranged into two layers. What are they? Inner theca interna and outer theca externa. Okay, and now what will happen to the primary oocyte? That grows in size and complete its first meiotic division, producing how many cells? Two cells. What is the speciality? The cells formed are unequal in size. Okay, one with a large cytoplasm. Okay, both will be haploid, and one with the most of the cytoplasm is known as the secondary oocyte, and the other one with less cytoplasm is known as the polar body, first polar body. The tertiary follicles change into Graafian follicles. Okay, and the oocyte inside that will develop a new membrane. Okay, known as zona pellucida. Okay, zona pellucida. Understood? And now the Graafian follicle. What is Graafian follicle? The mature follicle with a secondary oocyte which can be ovulated or which can be released is known as what? Graafian follicle. Understood? So the Graafian follicle ruptures and releases the secondary oocyte, and that process is called what? Ovulation. Understood? So what is ovulation? The process of release of ovum, okay, from the ovary. You can see here ovary, you can see this part is the stroma, and it is having what? The outer part known as cortex and the inner part known as medulla. Understood? And you can see there are various what kinds of follicles? Primary follicles. Okay, then what? Secondary follicles, tertiary follicles, and Graafian follicle. This is a Graafian follicle. And Graafian follicle, what will happen to the Graafian follicle? It is a mature follicle, isn't it? And from that secondary oocyte, how secondary oocyte is formed? When the primary oocyte, okay, primary oocyte is what? The one which entered into the meiosis 1 stage, that is in the prophase 1, the rest of the process is arrested, means stopped for a halt is there. Understood? So that is known as primary follicle, and primary follicle will complete when it complete its the first meiotic division. Two cells will form, two unequal cells, one with what? The more cytoplasm and one with less cytoplasm. The one with more cytoplasm is known as the secondary oocyte. Understood? Or we commonly call it as ovum. Understood? Secondary oocyte or ovum, that will get released, okay, from the Graafian follicle, okay, by a process called ovulation. And the secondary oocyte also forms a membrane, okay, new membrane it forms, that is known as what? Zona pellucida. Now the rest of the process, okay, that will take place only after the fertilization. You can just see the diagram here and compare. Spermatogenesis, okay, mitosis, differentiation happens. Mitosis happen to the spermatogonia, and then what? Some of them will function as the primary spermatocytes, and this process takes place only in the puberty. Okay, this process of spermatogenesis takes place only at the puberty, and this in females, oogenesis, oogonia were present where? In the ovary of a female fetus. Okay, and due to mitotic differentiation, okay, they'll what form numerous cells, and then what happen? Some of them, okay, they enter into the first meiotic division, and then they will be stopped there, okay, at the prophase 1 stage, and they are known as what? Primary oocytes, isn't it? Primary oocytes. And then what happened? Just before the ovulation, first meiotic division will be completed. But here how it is, it happens simultaneously. Okay, first means one after the other, simultaneously, not primary spermatocytes will undergo first meiotic division and form what, spermatocytes, secondary spermatocytes, and they will undergo, or they complete their second meiotic division, and they produce spermatids. But here a lot of gap or time difference, or lot of time it takes, okay, between these two process. That is, oogonia what undergoes mitosis and form primary oocytes, and in that stage itself it is kept there. Okay, when they form different layers around it, first they form primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle, and then what happened, graphian follicle will be formed. And then what happened, during just before ovulation, okay, primary oocytes complete its meiotic division and form the secondary oocyte and the polar body. Okay, understood? And the rest what part is completed only after the fertilization. If fertilization happens, then only it takes place. Rest part I told after fertilization only, that process we will study. So before that, let me say how it happened. That is, the sperm, okay, when they enter into the zona pellucida of the secondary oocyte, okay, then that induces the completion of meiotic division. Okay, and the second meiotic division is also unequal, just like the first meiotic division, and that also results in the formation of two unequal cells. Okay, that is, the smaller cell is known as the second polar body, and then the haploid ovum or oocyte. Okay, so like this only the what the formation of oocyte or ovum complete. So it starts when the child is in the womb of the mother, okay, in the fetal stages of the female child, when ovary formation takes place, there only what happens, the oogenesis starts. Okay, and then it will be arrested in the form of what, primary oocytes, and then just before ovulation it complete its first meiotic division. Okay, and it will be released as the secondary oocyte. Understood? So ovulation happens to what, actually, the secondary oocyte. Then if fertilization happens, then this fertilization, okay, the penetration of the sperm through the zona pellucida and plasma membrane induces the meiotic completion of the meiotic division, and that results in the formation of what, the ovum and the second polar body. So this is a long process. Which one? The oogenesis is a long process, and it starts in the fetal stage of the female girl or female child, and it completes only after the what, the fertilization. But in spermatogenesis it is not like that. Okay, and it starts at puberty, and it will not be what, a long phase as in the case of oogenesis. So you can just compare both of this and you can understand. So hope this much is very clear to you. Thank you.